They say your children are your heart walking outside your body, but no one tells you what it feels like when they step on it. My name is Farida. I'm 68 years old. I have lived a quiet life. Nothing fancy, just a modest home, a tea garden I tend every morning, and memories. Oh, so many memories. Some warm like shawls, others like this one, cut through the bone. This is not just a story about money. No, it's about a daughter, my only daughter, who looked me in the eye and said, "I've got you, Mama," while her hands were already deep in my pockets. But before I get to that, let me take you back to where it all began, to the days when she was still my little girl, before the coldness crept in, before I realized that love does not always protect you. Sometimes it blinds you. It was raining the day Aaliyah was born. Not a gentle drizzle. No, it was the kind of rain that makes the earth smell alive. A car crash on a night he promised he'd be home early. One broken headlight, one moment too fast, and I was left with a folded uniform and an insurance check that barely covered the funeral. I remember standing by the hospital window, holding her tiny wrapped body to my chest, watching those drops race down the glass like little rivers. I whispered, "You're safe now." And for many years, she was. I raised her alone. Her father passed away when she was only 3. I took a job at the post office during the day and cleaned houses on weekends. I couldn't afford a cake from the bakery, so I baked one myself. It leaned slightly to the left and the frosting was lumpy, but when she saw it, tears welled in her eyes. My hands, once soft, turned coarse with soap and time, but I didn't mind. Every sacrifice was worth it when she'd run to me, arms outstretched, shouting, "Mama, you're home." So I became mother, father, nurse, teacher, cook, and occasional clown. There were nights I stayed up sewing her school uniforms because I couldn't afford new ones. We weren't rich, but we were rich in ways that mattered, at least. I thought we were. I remember her 16th birthday. She hugged me tight and said, "One day, Mama, I'm going to take care of you." And I believed her. Oh, how I believed her. But sometimes words are just that. Words and years. Years have a cruel way of erasing promises. Time passes slowly when you're alone. But with children, it slips through your fingers like dry rice. Aaliyah finished school, then college, the first in our family to do so. I was so proud I nearly burst. I wore my best sari, old but neatly pressed, and sat front row at her graduation. I clapped until my palms hurt. When she took her diploma and looked for me in the crowd, I swear I could still see that little girl in her, the one who once fell asleep with her head on my lap after her math exam. After college, she got a job in finance. Fancy title, glass office. I didn't understand half of what she did, something about accounts and investments, but she always said, "Mama, it's all numbers. I make them work for people." I smiled. "As long as you're happy, beta." And she was, for a while. Then came the money. You know how a winter sun looks golden but doesn't warm your skin? That's how her words started to feel. You still haven't changed the curtains. Like the house, our home, embarrassed her. Not suddenly, no. It started in whispers. New clothes, a better phone, and a newer car. Her visits home grew fewer, her phone calls shorter. She'd still say, "Love you, Mama," at the end of every call. But the warmth, it wasn't there. Still, I told myself, she's busy, young, living her life. I had no right to weigh her down. At a monthly trip to the tailor to stitch something new from leftover cloth, so I smiled when she forgot my birthday. I made excuses when she skipped Eid. I even ignored the fact that she once came home, stood in my doorway, looked around, and said, "Nothing big, just a 2-room with a balcony. I want to grow mint and coriander again." It stung, but I stayed quiet. "Why not let me manage your pension? I could invest it, triple it even." "Dan T, worry about flats? You'll be living in a proper apartment if I handle it." That's what mothers do. We eat the bitterness and save the sweetness for them. But the shift became sharper after I told her I was retiring. I signed the documents she brought me, barely reading them. My eyes were tired, and her tone was patient, almost annoyed when I asked too many questions. I'd been working at the library part-time after I turned 60. It wasn't much, but it gave me enough to cover my groceries, my small pleasures. Jasmine tea. I also had my pension. Modest, but secure. I'd saved. Carefully. Cautiously, she seemed supportive at first. It's wonderful, Mama. You deserve rest. I smiled. I've even started looking at a small flat in Rawalpindi, I told her one day. She paused, then laughed. A little too hard, Mama. Seriously? That's such a waste. I hesitated. Something didn't feel right. But she was my daughter. And hadn't I always told her she was the smartest person I knew? So I agreed. I let her open the account. It's just legal stuff, Mama. Don't worry. That's what she said. Don't worry. Funny, because from that moment on, worry became the only thing I knew. She didn't pick up. It started small. I'd ask her about the account and she'd say, "Markets are slow, Mama. Trust me." Then my bank card stopped working. I told her. She said it was just a technical error. Then I got a letter, official looking, saying my pension payments had been redirected to a new account, one I hadn't opened. I don't even have access to my own funds. That was the first time I felt it. Not just fear, but betrayal. A coldness spreading through my chest, slow and thick like spilled ink. I called her. I texted. She replied the next day, "Busy, we'll call soon." But she didn't. Not for a week. Not for a month. I sat by the phone every evening, staring at the screen like it might ring from guilt alone. When she finally did call, her voice was tight, defensive. "Why are you being so dramatic, Mama? I am handling it." "You said I could." I told her, voice shaking. "You didn't ask me before transferring everything. You didn't explain." And she said something that shattered me more than any silence could. "Mama, you wouldn't understand. It's better this way. Trust me. No apology. No warmth. Just condescension. Like I was a child. Like my whole life's work, every rupee I had ever saved, was now hers to manage. Like a worn-out toy she could take and forget about. That night I cried. Not the kind of cry that comes with sobs. No, this one was silent, leaking from a place too deep for words. I felt stupid, ashamed, like a fool who had handed over her last candle to someone who didn't care if she sat in the dark. For weeks, I moved through life like a ghost. I stopped going to the market. I stopped stitching. Even the jasmine in my little clay pot withered, like it too had given up waiting for warmth. Each morning, I'd open my bank app, still empty. Each night, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every sacrifice. The missed meals, the double shifts, the worn-out slippers I kept gluing together so she could have new books. Was this what motherhood earned you? One afternoon, I went to the post office, just to be around people, feel like the world still moved even if I didn't. While waiting in line, saw a familiar face. Mr. Farouk. He used to come to the library every Wednesday, a quiet man with silver hair and a fondness for Urdu poetry. He recognized me instantly. "Pa, you look ... tired." That simple phrase broke something in me. I smiled, but my lip trembled. He noticed, stepped aside from the line and said gently, "Would you like to sit and have chai?" So we did. Outside, under a broken fan, over 2 chipped cups of cardamom tea. I told him everything. Not in a dramatic way, just ... plain facts. No crying, just words. Then he asked. She said it was just so she could help manage the account. He listened, really listened. The way you do when you're not waiting to reply. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "Did you give her power of attorney?" I blinked. "Signed some papers." He nodded slowly. She might have taken control, filed for full legal guardianship, or got a notarized transfer of ownership. The pension is still in your name. I didn't understand all the legal talk, but one word echoed in my mind. Still in your name. Something fluttered inside me. Something small but real. Hope if she didn't do this properly, there may still be a way. He offered to help. Turns out he had worked in a solicitor's office years ago before retirement. He said, bring whatever you have. Bank letters, copies of what you signed. We'll go through them. That night, I searched through my old tin box, the one where I kept our old ration cards, her birth certificate, a photo of her first school play. I found the papers. There it was, my signature. Yes, but no lawyer's stamp, no notary seal, no formal power of attorney. It's just a simple document that gave her access, not ownership. I brought it to Farouk the next day. He read it carefully, then looked up at me and said words I hadn't heard in so long. I'd forgotten how they felt. She can't legally take your pension, not fully. And we can report this. Something shifted inside me. A tightening in my spine. My hands stopped trembling. I wasn't powerless. Not anymore. The next week was a blur of small, steady actions. Farouk helped me draft a letter to the pension office. We submitted a complaint to the bank. We contacted the financial ombudsman, even got me a free consultation with a retired lawyer friend of his, who reviewed the case and nodded slowly as he said, "This can be reversed. It'll take time, but it's possible." My daughter didn't know. She thought I'd sit quietly. She thought I was too old, too soft, too broken, but she forgot one detail. It was still my money, still my name, still my right.